Okay, now I want to start by talking to you again about different career tracks, and I want to begin with an accounting career because that's a very common concentration within business schools and generally has a high degree of employability just because it combines being a value provider, the ability to go out and open up your own practice, undertaking tax services or accounting services, etc., or you can work within a large organization. So there's more latitude there associated with that skill. But also it combines well with being a general business major. That is, you're going to be a manager of individuals because you have a stronger working knowledge of the metrics, the keeping track of the metrics that gauge or judge how you're delivering value to the customer, client, or end user. So in that way, an accounting career is very valuable, and statistically, more CEOs of businesses or corporations come from the accounting field than any other. So, and the reason for that again is because over time you begin to have a better understanding of how to drive value because you're so adept at recording, reading, and analyzing the metrics for the different value drivers in the business. Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk for a minute about the different duties that you might run into as an accounting major. So, some of the core function are compiling data on assets, liabilities, accounts. You'll produce the financial statements of the corporation. You generally document and audit different transactions to make certain they're compliant with your rules, regulations, and then that they're accurate in nature. You'll ensure compliance filing with different obligations such as taxation, and in some cases you'll make certain that the securities disclosures and things of that nature are accurate and timely. And then all routine financial transactions, generally accounting is going to document and oversee them in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through accounts payable, accounts receivable, etc. So generally, the key skills associated with an accounting position is someone who's organized, has a good attention to detail, meticulous in nature, and it tends to come easier to individuals who are process driven because so much of documenting the metrics or the value drivers in a business are based upon a standardized process, and then of course it's that process that allows you to compare your performance against prior periods and other corporations that are or businesses that are providing any type of service, so you can compare your performance there. So when we talk about accounting careers, now there are a lot of different career tracks that you could potentially follow by pursuing a concentration or a major in accounting. Now everyone understands the certified public accountant and their role in either preparing business taxes or the function of preparing financial statements, or in the different compliance, the payroll compliance and different things that they do for members of the general public every year. So the CPA, but that's just one track, or a very common track. Another track would be to go inside of a larger business or corporation and be more on the management track. So early on, you're going to do something more along the lines of, say, a staff accountant working within the organization, and then slowly you'll work your way up to have more managerial responsibilities. So rather than a CPA, a common designation for accountants that move up in an organization is the certified managerial accountant, that is a CMA. Okay, and these individuals might move up all the way up to the controller of the company, or even the CFO. Okay, auditors are commonly in-house, or they can be with an accounting firm or on their own, but they serve the function of going into other businesses or organizations and back checking the accounting that was done, the metrics that were recorded for business performance. They work backwards to make certain that the statements that are produced internally are accurate. Okay, or that they are consistent with management's assertion as to the performance of the company. So it's more of a verification process, and it's a very unique skill unto itself. There's more specialized roles, such as a forensic accountant, which typically goes in and mines for important accounting data that is particularly relevant when during audits by, say, by the IRS or Securities Exchange Commission or any of the governmental organizations that commonly undertake audits of corporate records. But they pull up the numbers to make sure there's been no changes or alterations or knowing violations there. So it's more of an investigatory function. And then specifically tax accountants. This is an area of specialization for accountants that you can focus on the planning aspect as well as the compliance and filing aspects. So it's a blend of the two to be able to offer those planning and forward-looking services along with the routine documentation and compliance areas. And so then you have a number of accounting related fields that individuals with accounting knowledge can go into. Being simply a tax preparer rather than a tax accountant, somebody who opens themselves up to the public and takes in individual tax returns and prepares them. Generally, there's just a minor degree of training that is required to do that. And it's not even required that you have an accounting degree, but it certainly does help because of, like I say, familiarity with subjects. Bookkeeping is an extremely concentrated task that falls within the accounting realm, that you are the individual recording the transactions associated with a business. So any payment, any receivable, any purchasing, etc., you keep up with that and accurately document the records for use at later times in developing financial reports and in preparing your taxes at a later point in time. Accounting assistants and accounting clerks are common in CPA firms and in organizations that have staff accountants, and they assist the accountants primarily in any given function, and it's generally the accounting clerk that undertakes much of the documentation associated with accounts payable, accounts receivable, your payroll functions, etc. And then another more targeted role is a budget analyst, an individual who helps put together budgets, or in some cases simply analyzes the budgets of different sectors or segments of a larger organization to make sure certain there's no waste, or that the budget is being allocated as efficiently as possible in order to achieve the major goals of the business itself. So again, there are a lot of different areas you can go into with an accounting degree, and remember, an accounting degree is in most situations these days is part of a general business degree, but particularly when there's an accounting concentration in a BBA program. In situations like that, it doesn't limit you from any of the general business functions, consulting, internal management, anything along those lines. It's simply a skill-based focus that will qualify you for certain positions where some other business majors or business students may not be qualified.